Welcome to Conversations. I'm Suresh Kochatal. The case of Nimisha Priya, a nurse from Kerala who was sentenced to death in Yemen for killing her employer, has been hogging the news light from a long time now. But these news lines were going beyond not just Kerala, but into the Gulf too. But for the last 1 week, it has caught the imagination of people nationwide. A nurse was harassed by her Yemeni employer, sexually harassed, and finally her passport seized so that she couldn't leave the country. In a desperate move, she, being a nurse, administered a sedative to this tormentor, and he died because it was an overdose. Nimisha never meant to kill him, but unfortunately it happened that way. Like in any other Islamic country, there was no justice system. It is just kind of the person who committed it and the person who died, and that's it. The justice system is like that. It is an eye for an eye. She was sentenced to death and was supposed to be hung this morning. But there seems to be a last-minute reprieve for her. Many people are claiming credit. There is a gentleman who calls himself the Grand Mufti of India. I don't know who gave him that title. He's one Kantapuram gentleman from Kerala, an Islamic preacher. He claims that he has spoken to somebody in Yemen where we don't have an embassy because we don't have a diplomatic relationship with Sana'a. Because of the things going on there, we know the Houthis have captured half the country, the government is in the other half of the country. It's a mess there. So we don't have a diplomatic presence there. But when the matter came to the Supreme Court day before yesterday, and Chandi Umman, the son of the former Chief Minister of Kerala, Umman Chandi, met the governor of Kerala, Arlekar, he conveyed it to Prime Minister Modi that something needs to be done. And the government of India began speaking through the right sources. There is a Save Nimisha Priya team in Yemen, kind of a lot of Malayalis and non-Malayalis in that group were trying their best from a long time. The Indian government spoke to the Saudi government, who seemed to have some leeway in kind of ensuring justice there. And then that went into effect, and there, again, it was a reprieve at the last minute, as I told you earlier, and Nimisha is now technically not free, but at the same time, there's a settlement being worked out. We all know what the settlement is. It is blood money. The person who killed that other person, his family will set out an amount to be given. We've seen that in many cases. There's a gentleman in other part of the Gulf, also from Kerala, who was rescued like this. The blood money is huge sometimes. It's literally extortion. But then that is how the Sharia law works. And many in India want the Sharia law here in this country, but only for marriage, not for anything else, not for cutting off the hands or the head or even hanging them. Sharia, if it is there, should be there for the entire community. We can't give it in a piecemeal basis. Anyway, let's leave it at that. The Nimisha Priya case now acquires political overtones because some parties in Kerala want to take credit for it, especially the Muslim League, the Kantapuram, the other Islamic organizations, all claim that they have a selfish interest. They want to do something. But actually what they have is an eye on the vote bank. Nimisha Priya is a Christian. Many thought that name sounds very Hindu, but she's a Christian. And initially the questions were asked, what is RSS and BJP doing in not rescuing her? Then somebody turned around and pointed out her third name shows up that she's a Christian. But more importantly, the church has not woken up. The church has not said anything about it, even though she belongs to that denomination. But the government of India did. And yesterday night, we saw many Malayalam channels and even channels like Republic surprisingly saying Kantapuram was responsible for getting a reprieve for us. Sorry. The people in Yemen have made it very clear that it was efforts of the government of India, the Ministry of External Affairs, and the Saudi government that has worked in getting her a reprieve for the moment. The talks for the blood money is going on, and it can be raised very easily. We saw that in the other case, what happened in the Gulf for a gentleman from Kerala. Raising that huge money, of course, on her own for her is not possible, but if people get together and say we need to save her, people will donate and that money will come through. But that's not the question. The question is very simple. Why is it that Indians fall prey to these kind of activities in the Gulf? They go there sometimes illegally, Sometimes they go through agents. And in the good old days, we saw how many of them were trafficked to the Gulf to work as sexual slaves. Nursing is a big profession in Kerala. The entire world, actually, if you ask me, including US and Europe, runs because of nurses from Kerala. But in many countries, they're exploited, especially in the Middle Eastern countries. And that is what we saw here in the case of Yemen, where there's no law, there's no government there. Nimisha Priya is lucky in one way that her case at least got into the limelight. But what we need to understand is to get this problem rectified in the bud of it. The man who was killed was harassing her consistently. Why was he not questioned? Why was he not charged, at least in the initial stages before she killed him? Because she cannot complain. It's a one-way traffic there. The locals get all the benefit. And in case of Nimisha Priya, unfortunately, she had to take the step of giving him a sedative because she wanted a passport back so that she could travel to India. A husband who was there with her was also sent back earlier. And this person whom she killed pretended to be a husband in a visa application center. That, ladies and gentlemen, shows how frustrated she would have been, why she took that desperate step. But more importantly is the politics in Kerala, where the Muslim organizations have a complete say on what the government does in Kerala, the Kerala government. They want one case, specifically they want the classroom timings not to be increased because it will interfere with the madrasa teaching. Imagine, madrasa teaching is more important than science and maths in schools in Kerala, the government schools especially. And this is what is happening, but that's a topic for another day. In this case, we are talking of specifically Nimisha Priya and why we need to save her. But because there are many people like her, dozens like her, who are languishing in many jails in the Gulf countries. All of them need to be protected. All of them may not get into the limelight which she got. Some of them may be from North India, where hardly anybody bothers, the media there bothers to save them. But every Indian's life is precious. We need to get them back. But we also need to show a mirror to the governments there. Look, your citizen did this to my citizen. So there should be some justice the other way around. The person is dead and gone, but still, because of his act, she was forced to do what she did. That should be the factor. That would have been taken into consideration if it was a proper judicial system like what we have in India. We have a lot of problems with our judicial system, but at least we would have got a fair hearing. But in the Gulf, there's no question of it. Once you kill somebody, the courts, the local courts, the religious courts take over, and there's nothing called a judicial system. It's not like one in US or Europe or even in India. But Nimisha Priya's case brings forth the main question which I asked before. Why do we allow a woman to be trafficked to the Gulf? Why do we allow a woman to be harassed? Is there no way she could have complained to the embassy or anywhere else? Why do passports get taken away when the people reach the Gulf? These are questions we need to ask. These are questions which we need to ask our government, the Ministry of External Affairs, and of course, the organizations there involved, the so-called human rights organization, even Indian organizations there, who need to take up this question. That is the main point which I wanted to make. Thank you for watching. Jai Hind.